we're just going to get the word on the street about what multiple relationships in psychology are all about.
Could you please tell me what your understanding of multiple relationships is between a psychologist and their client?
Multiple relationships?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Okay.
What is your opinion on multiple relationships between a psychologist and a client?
Not good.
What would be your understanding of multiple relationships in psychology?
Say that again, honestly, I have no idea what you mean.
So your understanding of multiple relationships in psychology.
Well, if I try to break it down, multiple relationships is obviously more than one. Psychology.
What is your understanding of multiple relationships between a psychologist and their client?
Are you serious? I have to answer this?
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
You can't do a second take?
No.
I have absolutely no understanding of that.
Ask you, what does multiple relationships in psychology mean? What would you think it is?
I'm not too sure what it actually means.
Charles, what is your opinion on multiple relationships between a psychologist and a client?
I think that it's very unprofessional.
Why?
Because I think that it should just be based on professional circumstances and keep it very distant from friendships because it can be very confusing.
Now that we've heard the word on the street about multiple relationships in the psychology context, we thought it would be great to hear from some professionals about this interesting topic.
Alright, so what is your opinion on multiple relationships between a psychologist and a client?
Yeah, okay, well, I think it's wrong.
Yep.
Because someone goes to a psychologist for a specific purpose, and that is, because the person has issues and wants help with those issues, and so that relationship should be maintained at that professional level. If you then are, say, friends with a psychologist outside the clinical space, that I think could actually jeopardize that relationship or the professional relationship, because it is two completely different things, a friendship and a professional relationship.
Yep.
So the two should not mix. If you, it should be either or. You are either a friend or you are a professional counselor or a professional therapist, so not both. So
Okay.
I think it's wrong.
Hey Maddie,
Hello.
what is your take on multiple relationships between psychologists and their clients?
This is a really interesting topic. I actually just had a discussion with master's students about this last week. Any potential multiple relationship needs to be thought through, considered. I think any answer I give on the spot's inappropriate because it's a case-by-case basis, but it's important to think through what your role is, what the client's role is, and the client's best interests.
Wonderful.
That's a very broad question, is that enough?
That's a lovely answer. Thank you.
Hey guys, as you can see there is a vast range of understanding when you compare professionals in the industry compared to members of the general public. However, what is a multiple relationship? A multiple relationship, as defined by the Code of Ethics, exists when a counsellor has other connections with a client in addition or in succession to a counsellor relationship. Multiple relationships defined by the APS Code of Ethics occurs when a psychologist rendering a psychological service to a client also or has been A, in a non-professional relationship with the same client, B, in a different professional relationship with the same client, C, in a non-professional relationship with an associated party, and D, in a recipient of a service provided by the same client. So next, to enhance our understanding of multiple relationships, we'll present 4 different types of role plays and broadcast live news segments to show you how multiple relationships arise and how they can be best managed. The news segments will involve interpretations of how ethics have been violated or followed, who it implicates, the consequences of them, and how it can be potentially resolved. The first role play is between a personal trainer and a psychologist. The first role play is between a personal trainer and a psychologist.
Hey Nick, so to get started with our session today, I'll just get you to do some jogging on the spot, warm it up a little bit. That's it. Go. That's good. Good, come on, lean into it. Pump it. 10 more seconds. Going good. 10, 9, too heavy, is it?
It's heavy.
Well, I guess we're gauging your strength here.
Oh, I can't get it.
Come on, you can do it. Push it up. Come on. All right, we'll put it back on the bar then. If you're struggling a bit too much with that one.
Oh.
All right, now. Good knee. Make sure you do full extension. And I think, oh, going well. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's really good, Nick. We're halfway through now. Doing well.
It's not even leg day. Why am I doing this?
We're just going to work the whole body today.
This
I'm just getting a gauge of where you're at. Good work. Another 5, please. Come on. 4,
That's,
3. Come on, you can do it. You can do it.
oh.
2 and 1. Just full extension. Oh yeah. Good. Maybe another 10 or 20 of those.
How's your weekend doing?
You know, actually not that great. My grandma passed away earlier in the week, so I've been feeling pretty down. That's good, Nick.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm just not coping at the moment. I think I just really need some help.
Well, I'm a psychologist. You should come see me next week.
Are you?
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Can I?
Yeah, sure. I'll see you next week.
Oh, great.
So just before we begin therapy, I hope that we can maintain our trainer-client relationship as well as our new therapeutic alliance, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I think it should be fine. If you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't see a problem with it.
I think it should be cool.
Alright, sweet.
Right, so just 5 more of those, please. That's good. That's good. So Nick, I've really been enjoying the therapy sessions.
Yep.
They've been really good, really helpful.
Yep.
But this morning, I just woke up just feeling really, really upset and stressed out. Just not feeling good today.
Sorry to hear that. I think we should save that for in session instead of now, if that's okay.
You don't want, I can't talk about it now.
No. Time to work out. We'll talk about it in session.
Fine.
Ethics does this violate? B.3 Professional Responsibility. Psychologists provide psychological services in a responsible manner, having regard to the nature of the psychological services they are providing to a psychologist. C.3 Conflict of interest. C.3.1 Psychologists refrain from engaging in multiple relationships that may A. Impair their competence, effectiveness, objectiveness, or ability to render a psychological service. B. Harm clients or other parties to a psychological service. Or C. Lead to the exploitation of clients or other parties to a psychological service. What are the consequences of this? Major problem is the damage of the therapeutic alliance. As you can see from our last scene, roles and relationships can often be misinterpreted and begin to interfere, which can cause confusion from both the therapist and client's point of view, and can often damage the therapeutic alliance in the short and long term, as the client is often left uncertain of their position in the relationship. Relationships similar to these also have been found to leave individuals afraid to seek therapy again due to negative comments. Psychologists can once again be suspended from services under the APS Code of Ethics if the case is sent to the board. How this can be resolved? More education of boundaries between a psychologist and client can be emphasised at the beginning of sessions. This is due to the fact that many of the people we interviewed at the start either had no idea what it meant or thought multiple relationships were allowed. However, once educated, you can see the progression of knowledge and how professionals are against them. It can also be set by psychologists seeking help from their supervisor if unable to handle the situationally accordingly. The next role play is going to be a child seeking help from a psychologist. However, the child's dad is best friends with the psychologist and they live in a rural context. How's your day been, mate?
Yeah, pretty good, yours?
Yeah, not too bad. How's work been?
Oh, mate, full on. Non-stop. Yeah, it's just non-stop, 5 days a week.
I think my daughter actually attends your school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hey, sweetie. Hey, sweetie. What's wrong?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
What's up?
Mrs. Smith gave me that to give to you. She told me I had to come and see you. I'm hating it here. I hate this school.
Yeah, sure, no, it's coming.
So what's been going on?
I don't know if I want to talk about it. You know my dad, and I don't want him to worry about me.
Well, your dad knows that you're here. He's consented to that. But I just want you to know that everything discussed in the session will remain confidential. It will just remain between you and me. Unless you tell me something that suggests that someone is at risk of physical harm.
I don't even know where to start. You know, every day is hell in this place. The girls are such bitches. I don't even have anyone to sit with at lunchtime. The teachers don't even recognise me in class. I miss my friends at my old school. I wish I never had to come here. I'm hating it.
Doors open.
Oh, hi, Anushka. Since you're my supervisor, I was wondering if I can get some advice.
Of course, Nick. That's what I'm here for. What's going on?
School I recently started seeing, she's a young schoolgirl. She's actually the daughter of my best friend.
Oh, okay. You're like a really close friend of yours?
Yeah, my best friend, we go way back.
Okay. And what are you finding is the problem?
Well, I'm just wondering if it's ethical to see her because, you know, she's the daughter of my best friend.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a multiple relationship
Yeah.
going on. I think, Nick, what you've got to ask yourself is in this rural community that we live in, can this be avoided?
Well, it'll be difficult to.
Well, the child needs your guidance and there's not really anyone else available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So maybe what you need to do is to talk to her and, ensure that she understands confidentiality and the boundaries that you take on to make sure that you're not crossing confidentiality rules. And maybe, just ask yourself if you're going to be able to maintain that with her dad and not discuss with her dad anything that you learn about her in your therapeutic settings.
Okay. Well, good advice.
Thanks.
Hey mate, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. Catch a game on Saturday? Yeah, they're useless, aren't they? Yeah. Okay, mate, listen, I'm gonna have to stop you there. I did receive the consent form to see your daughter, and I know that you're concerned as a parent, but we have to maintain some boundaries here. One of them being that I can't discuss with you the information that your daughter tells me during sessions because I have to maintain her confidentiality.
Hey guys, I'm back. So, sometimes multiple relationships are unavoidable and have to be dealt with accordingly. The ethics, however, amend under C.1, reputable behaviour. When entering into a multiple relationship is unavoidable due to overriding ethical considerations, organisational requirements, or by law, psychologists at the outset of the professional relationship and thereafter when it is reasonably necessary adhere to the provisions of A.3 informed consent, which, however, state psychologists fully inform clients regarding the psychological services they intend to provide, unless an explicit exception has been agreed on upon in advance, or it is reasonably possible to obtain informed consent. Also under B.5, provision of psychological services to multiple clients state A. Explain to each client the limits of confidentiality in advance. B. Give clients an opportunity to consider the limitations of the situation. And C. Obtain clients' explicit acceptance of these limitations. However, in this instance, the school psychologist followed the APS Code of Ethics and made certain decisions to ensure no boundaries were being crossed. The school psychologist followed protocol and sought help from his supervisor and also informed other parties of the potential harmful effects that this type of relationship can cause if boundaries are not maintained. So the next role play is going to be an intimate relationship between the psychologist and the client.
First therapy session.
Oh, hi, Anushka.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Please take a seat.
This one okay?
Yeah, that one's fine.
Cool.
So what brings you to therapy?
Oh, just work really, stressing me out at the moment. I just feel like there's just so much going on in my head and I just thought this might be a good way of me
therapy session.
So, how's your week been?
Pretty stressful actually.
Yeah. Well, you're still looking gorgeous.
Thanks. I was thinking that tie's looking pretty sexy on you.
Oh, stop it.
7th therapy session. Things are heating up now.
Oh, it's getting hot in here. Are you hot? I'm getting pretty hot. I should probably take off my tie.
It's getting pretty
That's
warm.
better. Undo my top button. Undo this button as well. Oh, that's much better.
Maybe we'd be a bit more comfortable back at my place.
Yeah, you think?
I think so.
Yeah. Show me how
Let's go.
sexy you think my tie is.
I'll see you next weekend.
Yeah, see you then. Yeah. How's that?
Hey guys, I'm back. So, what ethics does it violate? C.4.3. Psychologists A. do not engage in sexual activity with a client or anybody who is closely related to one of their clients. C.1. Reputable behaviour. Psychologists avoid engaging in disreputable conduct that reflects on their ability to practice as a psychologist. B.3. Professional responsibility again. Psychologists provide psychological services in a responsible manner. Psychologists must A. act with the care and skill expected of a competent psychologist. B. Take responsibility for the foreseeable consequences of their conduct. And C. Take responsible steps to prevent harm occurring as a result of their conduct. So now, on careful examination of surveys concerning sexual intimacies with clients, Houseman and Stake cited the following. The percentage of psychologists reporting sex with current clients has ranged from 3% to 12% among male therapists, and from 0.5 to 3% among female therapists. However, most alarmingly was the study by Pope and Barsht, with 100 senior psychologists. The participants were current or former members of the State of Ethics communities, the APA's ethics communities, authors of legal and ethical psychology textbooks. Pope and Barsht found that even in prestigious samples of psychologists, 9% indicated they had engaged in sex with a client. So that's probably 9 out of 100 of the participants they surveyed. So now, what are the consequences? The consequences: sexual contact has ramifications for clients in the form of a psychological damage. These reactions have been found to cause ambivalence, cognitive dysfunction, emotional liability, emptiness and isolation, impaired ability to trust, guilt, increased suicidal risk, and role reversal. Consequences for the psychologist include possible deregistration of a possible psychologist, being suspended, and harm to the client. How can it be resolved? Therapists can seek guidance from a supervisor of sufficient ways to manage relationship. 2. Talking to client and making them aware of certain boundaries. 3. Potentially stopping the therapeutic relationship and assisting them to find another psychologist. The next role play is going to be between a psychologist and a client. However, the client and psychologist agree to being in a relationship after therapy.
So, Carol, welcome to our 5th session.
Thank you, Nick.
How are you?
I'm better than I was.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think so.
That's great.
I have good days and bad days, but yeah.
Yeah, what did you get up to on the weekend?
Oh, actually, I went out for the first time in ages, which is a big deal.
Where'd you go?
I went to the King George pub.
What? No way.
Yeah.
The one just down the road?
Yeah,
that's my local pub. I always go down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I live down there.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I love it down there, but I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
been
great.
for a long time, so I'm obviously doing a lot better now that I've been able to get out on the weekend.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, Carol, that brings us to the end of our 10th and final session.
Oh, I'm feeling really sad, Nick.
How come?
Oh, you've just become a really important part of my life. I've come so far. I've learnt so much from you. I don't even think I'd be here today if it wasn't for you. And I don't know if I can just, I don't know, would it be possible at all for us to, I know you know the King George pub, could we get together there maybe once in a while to stay in touch, you know? Like I just feel really sad.
Usually that's not allowed, but I don't see that being that much of a problem, so sure.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
I'm here! You're here! Good to see you! Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's so good that we can continue our relationship this way. How's your week? Yeah, good.
Hey guys, I'm back. So what ethics does it violate? C.4.1. Psychologists do not exploit people with whom they have had a professional relationship with. C.4.3. Psychologists A. do not engage in sexual activity with a client or anybody who is closely related to one of their clients. B. do not engage in sexual activity with a former client or anybody who is closely related to one of the former clients. C. who wish to engage in sexual activity with former clients after a period of 2 years from termination of this service. First, explore with the senior psychologist the possibility that the former client may be vulnerable and at risk of exploitation, and encourage the former client to seek independent counselling on the matter. So now the consequences of this type of relationship: it can damage the psychologist's reputation, also run the risk of the psychologist being suspended or terminated, can have negative social emotional outcomes for the client, and can cause role reversal confusion again. So how can it be resolved? Once again, more education at the beginning of therapy about boundaries, psychologists enforcing the APS Code of Ethics more in practice, and again, seeking supervision of supervisor if unable to make its own reliable decisions.